Hi everyone, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Tina and I'm the Capability Building Coordinator for Connecting Up and TechSoup New Zealand. Connecting Up is a part of the Info Exchange Group. Info Exchange is a not-for-profit social enterprise that has delivered technology for social justice for over 25 years. With over 100 staff across Australia and New Zealand, we tackle the biggest social challenges through the smart and creative use of technology. I'd like to welcome you all to the webinar, Simple Tips to Supercharge Your Job and Volunteer Ads, which will be presented by Rebecca Miller from Seek Volunteer. We'll start with a little bit of housekeeping. All lines are muted, so if you have any technical issues, please type it into the questions box on your webinar panel, and I'll be able to assist you through there. If you have any questions during the session, please also type it into the questions box and Beck will answer them in the Q&A section at the end of the webinar. Please note that your comments and questions will not appear to the entire group. If you are on a Wi-Fi connection and have multiple programs open, this can sometimes affect the quality of the audio and video of the webinar. If possible, please close all other programs to help you have the best experience. Please note that the webinar is being recorded and a link to the recording and the slides will be sent to you shortly after the webinar ends. Before we start, I'd also like to remind you that there will be a short survey at the end of the webinar. We'd appreciate it if you took a few minutes to provide us with some feedback. That's all from me for now. I'll hand it over to Beck to get things started. Thanks, Beck.
Thanks, Tina. Hi, everyone. Yeah, Rebecca Miller here. I'm Head of Seek Volunteer. I thought I'd just start with a little bit about myself. I can scroll through these slides. Sorry, Tina, we seem to be a bit stuck.
Looks like it's stuck on the first slide. It worked earlier when we tested it.
It did.
Perhaps if you could try just getting out of those slides completely and then reopening it. Sorry, everyone. Just a little bit of technical glitch to start.
Yeah, we did do a test. Sorry. Okay, sorry, let's just try again. Yes.
Cool.
Yeah. Great. Sorry, everyone. We did do a test. Here we go. So yeah, I'm Head of Seek Volunteer. I've actually been at Seek and in this role for about 2 years. A little bit of my background is that I'm really passionate about helping for-profit businesses have a social impact and get value from their commitment. So prior to being here at Seek, I worked at NAB in their corporate responsibility team for 8 years, which is a really great time to see sort of the, I guess, the evolution of community giving evolve into something a little bit more strategic. And prior to that, I worked at City of Melbourne. So my husband tells me, he's like, why do you always say this? But I always like to tell everyone I'm also a country girl. I think it's really important working in the not-for-profit sector because there are some differences between rural and metro kind of needs and challenges. So I feel like I have a really good understanding about that. And I actually think my upbringing gave me a really kind of passion for working in community. So I've worked with community organisations in most of my roles throughout my career. And at Seek Volunteer, we currently work with about 9,000 registered not-for-profits who are using us to recruit their volunteers. So a little bit about me and my personality. I'll probably talk fast today because I get quite excited. I always score quite high on optimism and collaboration in my personality tests. And I'm a bit more of a sort of heart and gut person. And I'll tell you what, Seek keeps you quite honest with that because we use lots of data and insights here. So they're helping me develop, you know, using my head a little bit more for decision making. So I think some of those traits led me to this type of work though. A little bit about Seek. So Seek's actually been around for 21 years. So our purpose here is to help people live fulfilling and productive working lives and to help organisations succeed. So one of the things actually when I took this role, and I ironically saw it advertised on Seek. When I started to investigate a bit about Seek, I did really like their purpose and a lot about their culture. There's a lot about, you know, an understanding of how important it is for people to be in the right role and the right job for them to be happy and feel fulfilled. So we spend a lot of time talking about our purpose and anchoring back to that. And then Seek Volunteer, it's been around for 19 years, which I was a bit surprised about when I started the role 2 years ago. I feel like, you know, for a great investment by Seek and a platform, you know, in the world of technology, it's common day now, but 19 years ago it wasn't. So they saw the foresight, I guess, of using their technology expertise for social good, and for exactly, you know, the same type of matching that they do in the jobs world, in the volunteer world. So my team is a small team. We're actually only 2 people in Seek Volunteer, but what we actually do is leverage all the experts across Seek and all of the Seek resources to help us do our job. So one of the big thought bubbles I always have with my decisions here is, where is volunteering the same as a job and where are we different? Because not everything is transferable. And you know, one of the big differences is, as you know, anyone who's job hunted will know, when you are job hunting, it's top of mind. You're usually over your job, you're ready for a change, you're looking all the time. But when you volunteer, you kind of think about it, you know, you get online, but then you'll get distracted. So it's really important for us to actually, if we can get someone to the Seek Volunteer website, to really, really help them with that search, match and connect, so that they do go on to express interest in an opportunity, because there's a big chance they might kind of get distracted and not come back for a few months or ever again. So a few differences there. Where we are the same and why we're here today is job ad writing and volunteer ad writing. The same kind of tips and hints serve both kind of worlds. So we leverage a lot of the work that Seek does to make sure that we can help our constituents write really, really great volunteer opportunities to attract the right people to their organisations. So as I said, the objective is today is to really help you stand out from the crowd, so you can attract the best or more people to your workforce, whether that's paid or unpaid. So as you know, sometimes in terms of a job, it's you've done all this work to get an FTE approved, or in a volunteer world, you've taken the time to scope out a volunteer role. And that's hard work, but actually the key to success is then how you pitch it to attract the best quality people to that role. So today we're going to go through a few tips. And I guess hopefully I'll inspire you with a little bit of extra attention at this point in time in writing your ad, but your outcome will be a lot more successful. So a couple of things. What we'll do is I'm just going to take you through a couple of high-level reasons why people don't apply for jobs, and a few tips and hints. Then what we're going to do is I'm actually going to take you to the Seek website so that you can have a look, and we'll go through a couple of resources that will be really, really helpful for you. I'm going to focus initially on writing a job ad, and then secondly I'll focus on some of the specifics that relate to writing up a volunteer role. So the 4 reasons people don't apply for jobs, not rocket science, but at Seek, as I said, we have lots of data and insights here. So where you see things quoted like 9 out of 10, this is all Seek research. So we know that an ad is critically important, but there's a lot of people that still, once they read the ad, they're just not confident in knowing exactly what the job involves. Secondly, salary. People really want to know, if I'm going to put the time into actually applying for this opportunity, is it even in the ballpark? So a lot of organisations are hesitant to put this in. And in regards to, I guess, the not-for-profit sector, you know, the reality is we don't have much scope to move, right, in what we can offer people from a salary perspective. So you're better off, and our advice is to just put it up front and put it out there. The third one is location. People still, with busy lives, more and more are wanting information about location and the requirements of the role. In regard to location though, there's a lot more flexible working happens. So if that is an option, and we'll talk a little bit about other benefits of the role later, it's certainly something to call out, because more and more people are interested to know where they're going to travel, but also interested to know if they can work from home or other locations. And the last one is, if the candidate expects the application process to be too complicated or time intensive, they often just don't apply. So some people are a bit lazy. So if there's any way that you can indicate the application process, we recommend that you do that, so that people are encouraged to invest the time to submit their application. So that's just a couple of high-level insights, and they link a little bit to some of these next things, which are 5 super easy ways to supercharge your job ad. So the first thing is, on any website, whether it's Seek, whether you're putting your job on any of the other sites, having a really clear market relevant job title and classification is important. People these days, they don't want the word, you know, marketing guru or any of the kinds of words that you might use. They just want really easy to understand job titles. And then from the classification perspective, there's a lot of artificial intelligence and other things and technology happening in the background to surface opportunities for the right people. So it's really important that you actually classify your job in the right way. And by that, I mean, on Seek, we have a category, and we'll go through this in a minute, called Community Services and Development, which, you know, most of us might be really inclined to put our job under that category. But there's a lot of other categories, like, you know, if it's a HR job, you might be better to actually classify your job as a HR job because it's very specific to that people in that industry rather than your broader industry of community service. So have a look around before you actually fill in your category and see where you think the best place to put it is, and think about where people are searching and where your talent will be, and therefore how best that technology will be able to put that ad in front of them. The next one is to use the summary wisely. So include really, really relevant role information, exactly what they will do, and the location, as I said, other benefits and career development and progression they might get. So the next one's show me the money as well. And so it kind of links a little bit to number 2. In our industry, we're often not particularly competitive with some of the bigger industries that can offer a little bit of money. So it's really important here, if you can, if there are any other benefits, that you really surface them in terms of parking, as I mentioned earlier, flexible work practices, staff discounts, gym memberships, anything that you can think of that is part of the package that might entice people to the role. And then the last thing is simply looking at formatting, and formatting matters. So we know here at Seek that 1/3 of job seekers actually search on their mobile phones. And as you know, a lot of people scroll, and they scroll really, really quickly. So you need to get their attention. So it's really important that, and we'll go through some formatting later, that you consider your formatting and that you be really, really concise. So what I'm going to do now is take you through the 5th easy way, and it's using some of the Seek assets that we have to help our employers. So bear with me, we're just going to go onto the internet for a live demo and cross our fingers. So what you'll see here is the Seek website. If you look up in the top right hand corner, there's a little button called Employer Site. Some of you may use this if you've actually put an ad on Seek before. The top here in the blue bar at the top is a whole heap of information to help you actually write your job ad and help you with your HR processes. So if I click on jobs here, oh, sorry, go back. If I click on Market Insights, you'll see Seek here has a fantastic array of all different assets that you can look for, talks you can listen to, other things you can see. And what this top one here is actually, hang on, let me just find it. Oops, back. They literally changed this page overnight. So let me just find where I am going. Here we go. So Market Insights, Candidate Insights, and this button here that's called Laws of Attraction. So in light of what we're talking about today, it's how do you attract people to your industry and role. So what Seek did is we did a really comprehensive about 6,000 Australian job candidates, and here's where you'll actually discover what drives candidates in your industry and how you can attract them and actually retain them. So it's a portal that I recommend you have a bit of a look around. What we're going to do is have a little look here. So as I mentioned before, what are candidates in your industry looking for? Really, really tempting here, given the work that we do to put community services and development. But if you think about the role, if you're looking for someone to do the finances or be your accountant, or if you're looking for someone in HR, if you think of trying to attract people from other industries in there, my recommendation is that you have a real think about whether the role fits into another industry, and therefore it will put it in front of other people. And the reason I say that is because if we click Community Services and Development and we visit the insights around this industry, what Seek will be able to give you in terms of dot points and things to call out, the top drivers of people in these types of roles in community services and development is work-life balance, job security, and then salary and compensation. And there's a summary underneath there that I won't go into, but you can read in your own time. So the difference with that is that if we looked at, say, going to the HR, if you had a HR role that you wanted to put up, a little bit different. So HR people, if you were to call out things, they want to know salary and compensation is their primary driver, followed by work-life balance. And they want to know a bit, naturally, given their industry, about the culture of the organisation. So it just helps you really prioritise the things that you call out in your job ad based on the industry that role fits in. If I go back up the top here, there's a whole heap of other advice that Seek can provide around hiring. This is where I've actually got a lot of the insights around how to supercharge your job ad. There's things about attracting candidates, the hiring process, engaging your workforce, and lots of other resources. So everything we're talking today really sits under this bucket here of attracting your candidates and the job ad writing. So have a look at that. I highly recommend it. It's a really great resource and has some really great tips in it. So if we just go back now to, here's a bit of an example of how you would write your job ad and have it stand out. It looks really simple, but a really clear, concise job title. The average job ad, according to all of the work that we've done here at Seek, the ideal length for a job ad is anywhere between 300 and 700 words, depending on the nature and complexity of the role. So between 300 and 700 is ideal. As we've talked about, listing the location up front, salary up front, and any other salary package details you might have, and then using that laws of attraction, really trying to link to those top 3 benefits for people in that industry. And then your short description there of with direct statements around what the role's about. So that's kind of it a little bit for how to write the ad. The next really important insight is this. Keeping a close eye on your job ad. Most platforms will allow you to actually edit your job ad at any time. And one thing that we do here at Seek, our customer service team, a little bit of an insight, our customer service team are trained. You can imagine if you've paid for a job ad and a week later you haven't actually had any applications. And we get customers calling up saying, oh, I paid this money and no one's applied. The very first thing that our customer service team here at Seek are trained to do is to open up their ad, and usually the ad's been written not as well as it could have. They work with the customer to actually listen to them talk about the role. They work with them to rewrite the job ad. We save it, we put it back up and say, if you haven't had any applications in a couple of days, call us. 9 times out of 10, we don't hear back from them. So you have the right to edit your ad as many times as you like. If you have a colleague or a friend or someone in comms who doesn't know much about the role, give it to them, see if they can understand it. And if you already have people in similar roles, talk to them about, what they do day to day, so you can actually communicate some of the things that are the practical aspects of the role as well. So edit is my last advice there. So the next part of the webinar is to talk about how to write a great volunteer opportunity. So it's not that different to how to write a great job ad. There's just some differences in the things that we try to pull out. And actually say, obviously, the salary things, all of those things are off the table. And the main thing that replaces that is making sure you really talk about the social impact that the work the volunteer is going to do. So if I give you an example, some of the work that we've done with some of the people that advertise on the Seek volunteer site is, if you're advertising, say, for a driver for an aged care home, often it'll be, right, we need a driver, the hours are this, but actually, the important part of that story is that might be the one outing that week that those elderly people go to and look forward to, and makes them feel part of society and more included in social activities. So really pulling out how the impact of that volunteer opportunity, what it will have on people or the services you're delivering. So on the Seek Volunteer site, about 12 months ago, we really reviewed our form. Most good platforms will actually talk you through it. But not all of them. We are a good one, so we do. So our form really aligns to this, what you're seeing on your screen now, and will really spell out to you and actually put some help text in there to guide you. So the really important thing is that you take note of what that form is asking you. Take note of all the small italic text. There are example questions in the text box that we've put there to guide you. You know, think about, like, it's kind of like writing a grant application where they really try and spell out and ask you to be concise. So the less waffle, the better. So for us, it's an engaging title. Now, the thing that is really important here, if people are already on Seek Volunteer, they know it's a volunteer role. So don't use the word volunteer in your title. Don't use up your words like that. Try to use descriptive words that actually help them understand the role as much as they would a paid job, so that they can make that correlation. Again, no fancy language. Just using words like whether it's, you know, a guide, a leader, they're coordinating something, or they're assisting with something. The second one is the search summary. I really like this in terms of helping you get in the mindset of thinking of it like a movie trailer. So really use action words to sell the activity. What are the snippets of the volunteer experience that actually, if you put them all in a movie trailer, would really tell the story of what the volunteer opportunity is about? Leave them being inspired and wanting more, and that comes back to using those action words to sell the volunteer activity. Don't include information about your opportunity here. On these sites, mostly they'll be able to link to your organisation's details. Try to not, we have a lot of people who cut and paste information from their website about the nature of their organisation. People will find that. In the detailed description, which is the next bit, you have the opportunity to say a little bit more about your organisation, but be quite concise. As I said, in the detailed description, the social impact that your organisation has, and specifically this volunteer opportunity has. That's nearly as big as, you know, salary in terms of a job ad. The traits that you're looking for in a volunteer, that's so that they can actually feel confident that they can do the role. There's still a lot of hesitation out there from people to go, am I the right person for this role? And what if I get there? Am I going to do a good job? So being able to call out the skills, the experience and the attitude that you want them to bring is really important to help them connect and feel confident. And most importantly is clearly articulate, and there's a field on Seek Volunteer that you would need to select. Be really clear about the time commitment. The biggest strategic challenge, I guess, that we at Seek Volunteer are working on at the moment, and I'll take this opportunity to mention it, is a large portion of the opportunities on Seek Volunteer are looking for a commitment from a volunteer for over 6 months. So to turn up every week or every fortnight or whatever for more than 6 months, it's actually really daunting for some people to express interest in something with such a big commitment. This is where we are very different from jobs. The job's quite specific. It comes onto the Seek Jobs board, people apply and it's off. But on our website, volunteer opportunities can stay there, you know, all the time, because they're always looking for volunteers. But what we've also done is a recent piece of research that says that if you can get a volunteer in the door once, 3 out of 4 of them continue to have an ongoing relationship with that organisation. So my kind of thought bubble here, or the thing for you guys to think about, is would you be flexible on that? If you're looking for someone for a permanent arrangement, how can you actually get them in once? Because if you give them a good opportunity and they feel comfortable, they've done it once, as we've said, 75% of people will actually stay on. It's just really scary for people to make a long-term commitment. So consider that when you get to the stage on your form, not necessarily writing the opportunity, but there's a few buttons there around commitment, and whether you would actually consider getting them in. The other tip there is whether you would also have a volunteer sort of, I guess, come try before you buy a day, where you have a bit of a volunteer information night or something like that they can come along to. Other handy tips, complete all the fields that appear in our form. Put yourself in the shoes of the volunteer, and remember that they don't have the knowledge you have. So it goes back to the same tip with the job ad. If you've got someone that doesn't know anything about the volunteer role, run a draft past them. see if they understand it, see what questions they have, and try and see if you can edit it to answer their questions. And if you have an idea about how to improve your text once you've written it, as I said, edit, edit, edit. Make sure you jump back in and update it. You can do this at any time on either of the Seek platforms, whether it's a volunteer opportunity or whether it's a job ad. So that's really all from me today. The last slide I've got here is a couple of resources that links you directly through to the pages on Seek that I've taken you through. The Talent at Seek is the employer portal, and the insights lead straight to some of the resources that you can look at to attract the best candidates to your role. And then on the Seek Volunteer website, how to write a great volunteer opportunity. And there I've just put the Seek customer service number, because at the end of the day, as I said, our guys are really trained to help you write your job ads. They won't help you write your volunteer ad, just so you know. That's me and my team, and my details are on the last slide there. So I really welcome anyone reaching out to us at any time for any extra tips, and I really encourage you to use the Seek resources that I've shared with you today.
Thanks, Beck. We do have a couple of questions that have come through. So the first question is the Seek employer resources also available if it's a volunteer position?
The Seek resources are available. They're free to access, and if you go through them, you'll see there are a lot of synergies with volunteer roles. So they're all free to access through the Seek site. You don't have to sign in. You don't have to be an existing hirer who has paid for a Seek job ad before. They're available to the public.
Great. The next question is the portal subscription based?
That's probably answering a similar thing. So the portal that I just showed you is not subscription based. It is available free to the public.
Okay, great. So that's all for questions today. Was there anything you wanted to add before we wrap up the session?
No, I guess that, you know, the last thing I want to say is please reach out to me, my team. Please reach out to the Seek customer service desk, but really take the time to look at those resources. There's a lot of resources there, and Seek have been in this business, as I said, for 21 years. So there's a lot of insights and data there that's really helping you write your job ads in the best possible way.
Great. Thank you so much, Beck, for presenting today. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. I hope you've all learnt a lot from the presentation. If you do have any other questions that come to mind later or any feedback about the webinar, please send that through to events@connectingup.org and we can answer those offline. You can also contact Beck directly via the information on your screen. Don't forget that the recording will be available on the website very shortly and a link will be sent to you, so keep an eye out on your inbox. Again, thank you for being with us. Enjoy the rest of your day and we look forward to seeing you all next time. Thanks, Beck. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.